Stupid Atheist Tricks, Part 5. This is the final one I think I'm going to do in this series. There are probably a lot more that I'm not thinking of right at the moment because I just haven't been talking to a lot of stupid atheists lately, have I? Well, I don't know. Just the ones that are replying to the things, and they've got me so distracted by the current arguments I've already put up that I just can't think of any more of them, because I know they're going to reply to those with more stupid atheist comments, and it's going to spawn on indefinitely, and I won't have any time to play music, which is what I want to do. So, but I think this will cover the essentials anyway, and my eyes are tired tonight. But yeah, we're going to do, I've got a book here a friend lent me called The Evolution Cruncher. You know, there are many books done by people who have some great credentials, but the thing is, you know, there is a lack of, in the intellectual community per se, as people look at it, because intellectual community usually entails the people that are really high up in academics, okay? Now, in the scientific community, there has been a documented bullying of various people out, and again, the movie that I just saw tonight, Expelled, covers this very nicely. Ben Stein interviews several people who just maliciously had their positions stolen from them, basically, because they even mentioned things like intelligent design in publications that they did. And it's just very common, and I myself had a very difficult time. Well, I never found a teaching job. I graduated from Oregon State in 1983 and began trying to look for a job in science education. I love working with kids. I love physics. I love chemistry. And I couldn't find a job. There were always strange interviews where people would ask me questions, and I sensed the questions that really made them slide under the table and get you know, like in this framework of, oh, why did we invite this guy here, you know? And they were questions having to do with my belief that education was the answer to man's problems, or these kind of things, you know. And I certainly don't. I think, as I think I said in one of those interviews, I said sometimes you make people smarter and they just build bigger bombs. And I don't think that purely education is the answer to man's problems at all. In fact, the wrong kind of education certainly is a hindrance, and I think we've had a lot of that here through the last few years. But anyway, the Expelled movie, you know, nicely documents many cases where people have been ridden out of their positions, even tenured people. Their research grants collapsed because, you know, it's just like there is this cooperative that works to bully people out of academia, and that's why there are something like 90% atheists. I mean, I've talked at length with many of the guys who were at the Institute of Molecular Biology where I used to work, and I know there was a chemistry professor there who was a Christian. He didn't dare say anything. You'd go into his office even, and it was like he was afraid there were people listening through the doors. He didn't want to say anything. He's like, you know, just, you know, keep it down about anything having to do with Christianity. He didn't even want to talk about it in a private conversation in his office. Of course, atheists can talk about fishing, they can talk about all kinds of stuff that's extracurricular, no problem there. But if somebody were to go by and hear him talking and say, well, man, can I pray for you or something on office time, and take 2 minutes out of his day to pray for somebody, he'd have his head chopped off, you know, in terms of academically speaking. And he knew that, and so he just tried to keep, you know, everything like that just completely sterile out of his day job. And that's really sad that people can't interact in a normal level and have some extracurricular conversation, that everything has to just be focused, because, you know, it's hypocritical. The atheists don't focus entirely on what they're doing. You know, some of them almost do, and they're the most dull people I've ever met. But most of them, you know, have some diversity in what they talk about, and what, you know, and they'll have a little get together and talk about all kinds of stuff in the middle of the day there, and, you know, it's all, we're human beings, we need this. But no, Christians don't need to talk about their faith, or they need to lose their job. That's the big difference. It's so hypocritical. And anyway, so people will tell me, well, where is the peer-reviewed publication that substantiates what you're saying? And I just laugh in their face, because it's like, dude, if you had any clue, if you had worked in these environments, if you had tried to get a teaching job even, you would understand. Because if you answer the questions honestly as a Christian, you don't get hired. I don't care how good you are at anything, you know, it's irrelevant. One of the guys was an astronomer that Ben Stein interviewed, who discovered, you know, a lot of stuff, and he wound up, you know, in the same boat. It doesn't matter how good you are at what you do, it's whether you kiss up to the agenda of the atheists that are trying to dominate the whole academic community. And like it or not, that's the truth. And stupid atheist trick number 5 is the saying that, you know, there's no credible peer-reviewed thing. Well, how can there be? These people have bullied out anybody who would even say a peep about this, and if anybody does mention it, you know, their head's on the chopping block too. So, you know, forget it. You're not going to find any peer-reviewed articles on things of relevance in these areas. It's just one of those things best left untold, you know. Anyway, so that's it for this one, and of course, the final stupid atheist trick is simply to cut and run after the rest of their arguments explode in their face, and to go try to find gullible people who will listen to them. That is the conclusion of our Stupid Atheist Trick series. Bob Weigel signing off.